Good morning, everybody. Hardcore League is a time to experiment and try out all sorts of weird and wacky character builds for me that I normally wouldn't try to play. You see, I find it really fun to really push the limits of what you can do, oftentimes with different types of characters. But the problem is, if I do it on the regular servers, I'm just going to do it on one of my main characters, and they got the tomes, and they got the past lives, and all the stuff that maybe if you're watching, you might not have on every character. And sometimes you just want to make a new thing, and not have to worry about spending X amount of dollars to go do some raids or to go farm out some 5k favor to get all the stats that you need. And so I have a brand new unique build for you with that in mind, which is the Charisma-based Tempest Ranger. That's right, Charisma Tempest Ranger. Now you may be wondering, why Charisma? What's so special about that? You see, I did it because chat told me to, that's right. Chat said, hey, Strimtom, play a Charisma-based Ranger, and I thought it might be a fun idea to explore Ranger, but with a side of Feydark Illusionist. You see, Feydark Illusionist grants the ability for you to get Charisma to hit and damage, but also gives you greater color spray. Rangers are also unique in that they don't really need their feats for anything, because you get all of the 2-weapon fighting feats for free, and even some of the ranged feats, which means you have a lot of extra feats, and I can take Quicken on this character build. Quicken for the Ranger allows me to cast Greater Color Spray Quickened during the leveling process, so almost any dangerous monster that I encounter, I can immediately just jump right up in front of and start smashing out after I stun lock them with Greater Color Spray, especially when it's an entire pack. Being able to walk in, Greater Color Spray, and then start Dance of Deathing through monsters is very, very satisfying, and it worked all the way from level 6 through to level 20 on Hardcore League. My character also barely needed any support whatsoever, given the fact as a ranger you're able to heal yourself fairly comfortably using wands of cure critical wounds, and just having a reasonable layer of defense over top. Now my character is also not a pure class ranger. I decided to multi-class a little bit. One level of rogue gave me the ability to deal with every trap in the game, which, while not something I generally prioritize, it was nice for Hardcore League to help other people be able to get through different parts of quests by disabling traps for them, as this character could usually run through. However, you might want to actually have trapping on your character because you might be afraid of traps, so that works well with this build. And second, I took a level of Favored Soul, which gave me access to a few spells, but most importantly, access to Divine Might, which is one of the best buffs for any Charisma character in the game, giving you additional damage based off of your Charisma on all of your melee attacks. If you don't happen to own Favored Soul when you decide to play this build, don't worry about it. You can get away with Cleric and have mostly the same experience. You'll just have a little bit less mana since all of your spell points will be coming from your Wisdom instead, and Wisdom pretty much only comes from items on this build. Once you've got your Rogue and your Cleric, you kind of go full into Ranger and just start smashing people with 2 weapons. This character also uses Khopesh for 2 reasons. You generally want to use either Khopesh or Longsword for this type of character. Either one is fine, but they're pretty much the best one-handed weapons and the best options for Ranger at this point. Technically, you could also use the Feydark Illusionist short swords if you really wanted to, although I didn't want to do that with this build. While it is interesting, I don't think it's going to be as good as some of the higher damage you can get out of Khopeshes and out of longswords. However, I did end up going with Khopeshes because I somehow, this Hardcore League, managed to pull 2 Khopeshes of the Drow Weapon Master, and they look amazing, and well, my character was a Drow. That's right, a Drow Elf. A race that is not too commonly recommended in different build guides and actually fits super well here. You need some dexterity to be able to take some of your feats, like the dodge, mobility, spring attack line, as well as precision, and you need intelligence to be able to do your rogue stuff, and you need charisma. Since this character used all 3 of those stats, it was just a no-brainer to kind of throw in some Drow. So if you happen to have Drow, Rogue, Ranger, Cleric, and some Feydark Illusionist, or Favored Soul instead of Cleric, you can make this build a reality. Now, heroics is not the only talking point here. Epics are also a major concern, and one of the things I've noticed over Hardcore League is it really helps pronounce the changes from the old epic system to the new epic system. In the previous Hardcore Leagues, you would often get to epics and it was a painful slog, running a lot of normals and hards, barely able to get any gear, having to level up all your epic destinies. It was such a chore, and especially on a first life character, it meant that your stats were just generally going to be a lot lower when you actually ran into that type of content, making it even harder to level. Now, characters start with incredible abilities right away. You get so many amazing abilities, and this character was very, very much carried by Fatesinger through the epic leveling process. Fatesinger is insanely good for everybody. Spellcasters, melees, ranged, it doesn't matter. The Fatesinger Epic Strike has a 4-second cooldown, adds a tremendous amount of damage, and applies a stun on melee. This gives you a no saving throw stun you can just hit on monsters and a huge burst of damage. It's important to note that Rangers attack with 2 weapons, so every time you actually use your Fatesinger attack, you actually get 2 hits with the attack, which is very, very strong. On top of that, the Sword Sings attack, where you do kind of like a spin, make a sound wave come out of you, and stun all the monsters nearby, is insanely useful, helping round out your area of effect in combination with Dance of Death, stunning nearby monsters, and basically one-shotting everything from the amount of damage. On top of that, instead of having to cure with wands, which, while nice for heroics, kind of gets really annoying as you get more health, 800, 900, 1000, you really don't want to be using wands anymore, at which point you can go ahead and grab Renewal out of Unyielding Sentinel in Epics, and I keep telling everybody this, get Renewal. I don't care what you're playing. If you're leveling, take Renewal. It's so useful. You get good defenses out of the Unyielding Sentinel tree, and oh my gosh, just the extra health you're able to add into your character during the leveling process, being able to heal back pretty much any amount of damage you take. I basically didn't even need to pay attention once I got to Epics. You walk into a combat, throw Renewal on before you actually start fighting, either hit him with the color spray, or just go Dance of Death into the Fatesinger Epic Strike. The Fatesinger Epic Strike hits most of the monsters. If anything's still alive, hit him with the Blade of Discord, and every pack is basically done. It's actually kind of shocking how effective it was, and it makes me wish I had more time to play it on the regular server, and I might even revisit this concept again on my main character Strimtom as I'm running through the game. However, it was just so incredibly strong, and I really want to explore more Fatesinger melees, since this janky Ranger just seemed to work. Now, if you want to know what inspired me to play a Ranger, I was actually full of rage, and my character was named Strimadge as a result. I experienced a whole bunch of rage because of the clip that you're about to see, which is why I angrily rerolled almost immediately, creating this character. What was that? Trap fire? What's trap fire? Are you joking? I just got curse word. Team killed. I literally just got team killed. That's right. I was so mad that I died that I just had to make a brand new character, one that was a steaming pile of garbage. Or so I thought. It turns out that when you sift through the trash heap, eventually you find something amazing. I'm not going to call it a diamond, in the rough, because diamond is too nice of a term. This is like when you find a very nice bag of rhinestones in the dumpster. This character is Strimadge, Afraid of Barrels, the charisma-based ranger that was way better than I originally thought it was going to be. This character has been tearing its way through epics and would have gone all the way to 30 if Hardcore League didn't come to an end. Dual-wielding Khopesh Charisma Ranger. The charisma here, as previously mentioned, is because I was told to play Charisma Ranger by chat, and by golly, I really wanted to get it done. So we have a 24 charisma right here. Actually, I didn't even put this on the right thing. There we go. Now it's easier. 24 charisma starting out. We started with an 18, wisdom with a 10, intelligence 14, constitution 12, dexterity 14, and strength 10. This character actually leveled weirdly. I went rogue at first level, favorite soul at second, and then the rest ranger. The reason why I did it like that is because I wanted my base attack bonus to line up for specific feats, and I figured, hey, why play a pure ranger when I can do a little bit of multi-classing for hardcore, have the ability to disable traps, have some of the defensive effects from favorite soul, like magic missile immunity, as well as protection from evil, to protect myself from all sorts of negative, harmful effects, and it allowed me to get the right base attack bonus for different levels, so that way I was perfectly capable of landing everything in here in terms of all of the feats and stuff I wanted to get. So, skill-wise, it's fairly straightforward. Level up all of your trapping skills, disable device, open lock, search, and spot as well to keep up on that. And also make sure you keep up on use magic device. It'll be very nice and handy in the regular servers to actually keep people raised, and also use heal scrolls if you want another people, if you need that scenario. However, on Hardcore League wasn't as important to do that. And then on top of that, you can just kind of throw the rest of your skills wherever you feel like it. As far as the feats go, this character does not have a maxed out dexterity, so I wouldn't get all of the combat style 2-weapon fighting feats. However, Rangers get them all for free. So 2-weapon fighting improved and greater just kind of come along the way. So instead, I took a couple things with this character. First, this character is using the exotic weapon Khopesh. The reason why I'm using it is because Khopeshes are just kind of cool. Additionally, this allows me to kind of have this neat looking weapon, and I have a couple neat looking Khopeshes right here. These in fact are the Khopeshes of the Drow Weapon Master, which is why I made this character use Khopesh instead of a longsword. Longsword is also an equally good choice for this character. However, you will need to swap out the feats a little bit versus the build guide that, of course, I have in the description, and you can find a full written version of this if you don't want to listen to me talk anymore. I take Quicken because this character does make full use of color spray, which is unbelievable during the leveling process. You might not think that a ranger can make good use of color spray, especially not a first life ranger, but trust me, you can. On top of that, we also grab Precision and the Spring Attack Chain, Dodge, Mobility, and Spring Attack, just for a little bit of like forward momentum while running through quests and improve critical slashing. Moving into Epics, this character took Overwhelming Critical, and then on top of that, also for Epic Destiny feats, Epic 2-Weapon Fighting, and as I would continue to move forward, grab other feats like Force of Personality, and finally up at the top for the Scion feat, this character would take Scion of the Feywild. Now normally, you want to grab something for melee power and focus on that, however, I felt here this would be better to work into Scion of the Feywild because this character makes a surprisingly good Fate Singer, which we'll talk about when we hit Epic Destinies. As far as spells go, for Favorite Soul, as I said, Night Shield, Protection from Evil, just protects you from so many negative effects. And then Ranger, you just basically take all of the good spells. Grabbing yourself Ram's Might. I don't know why I don't have Ram's Might in here. I should. Anyway, take Ram's Might. I don't know why I didn't. Hold Animal is a notable, cool feature here. It says that mindless targets cannot make their save. Now, this is a will save, so you're never going to land it on anything as a Charisma Ranger, but since mindless targets like scorpions and spiders have no saving throw, it really saves you in a pinch when you're about to die, so keep that in mind. All the level 3 spells are bad, but it's a good thing there's only 5 of them, so you take Wild Instincts for a little bit of extra spot, and mostly neutralize poison, because this makes you immune to poison effects for 1 entire minute, or 2 minutes once you get into Fate Singer, which means your character can just ignore drow poison effects and other neat poisons that might come up. And then, of course, you grab Freedom of Movement and then Cure Serious Wounds, just as a couple cures during the leveling process. Now, as far as the enhancement tree goes, this is pretty run-of-the-mill in terms of Tempest Ranger. You grab all the good stuff out of Tempest Ranger. The only adjustment I would make to this tree, and the one that I have posted online, is get rid of Elaborate Parry here. Your dexterity is kind of low, and you can't really make good use of this effect, and instead just grab Dual Perfection, as it's a little bit better, gives you more damage. Although I did want to test it out. Elaborate Parry bad for this build, because you just don't have any dexterity. If you have, like, Ultra Completionist, then sure, you can still fit in Elaborate Parry, because you're going to have a whole bunch of extra dexterity, especially if you have +8 tomes, and Completionist, and Racial Completionist, so you have maybe an extra 20 points of dexterity to play with, but not for this character. Fate Arc Illusionist, I've got 11 points spent here. I grabbed these pretty early, and I had the points spent here, so by level 6, I could use Greater Color Spray. Greater Color Spray carried this entire character all through Heroics, and then into Epics, I replaced this entirely with Fate Singer, but big shout out to Greater Color Spray for making this character a dream to level. War Soul, just picking up the Divine Might here, because you get the extra damage based off of your Charisma, which is nice since you stack it. And then Deepwood Stalker, you want to pick up a lot of the increased empathy and stuff here for the positive spell power. Instead of taking Favorite Defense, I would highly recommend taking the extra sneak attack dice here from Stealthy, gives you more damage, and then grabbing the +1 threat range with advanced sneak attack dice, or advanced sneak attack, plus you get 4 sneak attack dice and all the extra positive spell power. I didn't think about this a lot with Ranger, but this is 20 positive spell power, and this is 40, so I get 60 positive spell power from this Ranger tree for 21 points, and 60 for 21 points is actually, like, really, really good, especially since I'm getting a whole bunch of other stuff along the way, so pretty nice right there. And then lastly, I just took some extra charisma out of Draw Elf to round it out. For Epic Destinies, I'm using Fate Singer, and I would continue going up Fate Singer all the way up to the top here for a couple cool reasons. Fate Singer has the Sword Sings, an attack which makes a special little jingle. A special jingle. There it is. I didn't know which button it was. It's been a while since I played this character. Which does a whole lot of extra sonic damage per character level. 2d10 per character level scales 200% with melee power. Might not sound that amazing, but it's important to keep in mind that this has a 4-second cooldown, so you're going all the time, and this damage is pretty substantial. For me, it's about 650 or so right now, and adding 650 onto each attack during the leveling process is amazing at 24. At epics, it gets even better, or not epics, all the way at 30, and with a proper amount of melee power. But the most important thing is it stuns on critical hit, and you crit about a quarter of the time that you attack, a little more than that, actually. So you're going to be getting critical hits with no save all the time. And finally, you get Blade of Discord, a large spin attack that when you use, is it this one? This one. It allows you to, I can move this up here actually so you can see my character. It allows you to stun monsters that are nearby and adds a gigantic amount of damage. It actually doesn't tell you how much damage it adds on here. It doesn't even say it adds damage, but this adds like 1 million. This effect at my level at 24 is a one-shot kill on every monster if I critically hit. If I don't critically hit, sometimes the monsters will still stay alive, but they're just stunned for the entire time since it scales off charisma and stunning bonuses, which is really easy to get. So you stack up, make your attacks with the Sword Sings, then use Blade of Discord for huge amounts of damage. The Mantle of Sound of Fury is pretty nice. You also get Rain, which gives you a whole bunch of extra damage every time you Vorpal guys, which happens basically all the time. And something I didn't realize, you get the Bardic Inspire Courage feat here, which is really nice, to add a little bit of extra damage, which stacks with Greater Ballads of War for additional attack and damage on this. You also want to make sure you're picking up the Metamagic Attunement Extend, which extends a lot of your favorite soul spells, which normally last 5 minutes. With this, they last 10 or 12 by the time you hit level 30, which is pretty good. And then finally, the tier 5s. Cut the strings. This is what you're going to be going towards. Now, enchantment effects maybe won't seem that good on this character, but you actually can get, I did the math, and you can follow a build guide below to see where the build ends up. Even as a first life character who is a Ranger, you can get off enchantment DCs to make this work all the way through Epic Elite at the end game, which is pretty cool. And this ability is a gigantic instant kill. You press a button, everything around you starts dancing, and then you just get to start cutting their strings. You get a buff called Running with Scissors, where when you touch them, you cut their strings in the universe and they disappear. Cut the Strings is extremely powerful as a melee character, not just because you can do that, which is good, but also bosses take 300 damage that scales with spell power every time you hit them. So you take Scion of the Feywild, stacking up that Sonic spell power and getting the enchantment DCs for this one. You get the Sonic Harmonic Resonance, which makes it so monsters take 30% extra damage from Sonic. And you're dealing Sonic damage on Sword Sings, Sonic damage on Blade of Discord, Sonic damage on base attacks, Sonic damage from Cut the Strings, Sonic damage on Rain. It's a lot of damage, and it's very, very, very good. Full raid-wide buff, Turn the Tide, which is one of the best damage effects in the entire game. Extra +1 crit multiplier, +3 DCs, which just helps out your Cut the Strings. And then finally, Ballad of the Aegis. You could take this. Honestly, not good unless you're an actual bard. So I would probably avoid this if you need be. And the rest of your points, you're going to be coming in here to Unyielding Sentinel and picking up the Renewal, because Renewal is amazing. Oh, this 7-point setup is just amazing. Highly recommend this. Can't recommend this enough. And then Shadow Dancer, you come in here, you pick up Technician, which gives you the search spot, disable device, and open lock. And then you want to move up and grab Dance in the Dark, as well as the Step Through the Shadow for the Shadow Step. Now, as far as equipment goes for this character, basically what you're going to be looking at is just anything that bumps up your charisma, because you're a charisma-based character. Probably a trapping item, so I got like Magnifying Lens out from the Keep on the Borderlands, and I threw a Diamond of Intelligence in there just to help make sure I could keep up on trapping. This character will need to make sure you have a trapping item at all times because you're not intelligence-based. You start with a 14, which is pretty good. But being a first life character, again, you want to make sure you have that gear. And then anything else that, as I said, that bumps up your charisma, and then getting any weapons. Now, my character, I was very lucky, and I pulled 2 Drow Khopesh of the Weapon Master on Hardcore League, which is extremely uncommon, but it's very cool. So I have these, and I love that. And then on top of that, we've got just some random crap. I got Constitution 10. There's a good ring there. Dodge and Strength, I mean, can't complain about this. A couple items from Keep on the Borderlands, so some Charisma items, very good to farm out Keep on the Borderlands once you get to Epics. These are some Druid Gauntlets that give healing lore, which is nice for the healing that I do with Renewal. These bracers are very good if you have nothing else, but I have the wild card apparently, so these bracers are no longer good. The Ghost Waking Cloak, so I could hit invisible target or incorporeal targets. This allowed my character to actually do re-promote if I want to, or just generally hit incorporeal ghosts and the like. Apparently I got Sheltering, Insightful Physical Sheltering. That's actually a pretty rad necklace. That's not bad. Crown of Leaves for heroics, because you got to hit stuff. And then I had an Epic Bloodstone because I managed to pull a whole bunch. Important note that when Update 53 drops, getting your Bloodstone is going to be of no consequence, because if you farm out the chest and it doesn't drop, you'll be able to trade in your Antique Bronze tokens for a Bloodstone or other Sans items. So as I said, grabbing some Charisma items, grabbing some Constitution items, grabbing some Defense and Deadly and what have you, trying to fit it in. This character was very, very well and was leveling quickly, and the only reason it didn't make it to 30 is because I was just out of time on Hardcore League. So if you yourself are looking for something interesting to play, try Strimadge, Afraid of Barrels, the Charisma 2-weapon fighter ranger. And don't be afraid to try different things, especially Fatesinger. I think the thing that I learned the most out of this is not just that, you know, Fate Dark Illusionist is obviously good, and Ranger is so good that it kind of just works with whatever stat you kind of throw on it. But also, Fatesinger is very, very strong as a melee, and definitely something that you should be considering on a lot of different characters. Doesn't even have to be Charisma-based. Remember that the Blade of Discord works with Strength, Dex, Int, or Charisma, and the Capstone works with all ability scores. So if you want to try this character out, but you say, I don't want to do Charisma, I'd rather do Strength, you can do this exact same build, but with Strength instead, or Dexterity or Intelligence. If you want to do an Intelligence-based Ranger, have higher trapping abilities, which honestly is probably better. So just keep that in mind if you have some other ideas. Try out Fatesinger, it's really good. Anyways, that is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure you subscribe to this channel to get some more content pumped into your brains and your eyes through the screen and also through your ears by listening to the dulcet tones of my voice as I speak to you here and tell you about different characters in Dungeons & Dragons Online. Also, that's pretty much all I have. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Eat your vegetables, brush your teeth, take out the garbage, and I'm going to disappear into obscurity as the screen fades away. Ooh, screen fade. Ooh, future me is going to edit this. Ooh.